TM 53431222515, Department of Army Technical Manual, Operator Organizational Direct General Support and Depot Maintenance Manual, Welding Machine, Arc General, Inert Gas Shield Transformer to 300 amp, 5 to 460 amp, AC 5 to 350 amp, DC Miller Model 330A, BSB FSN 3431620858. All right, Chapter 2, Installation, Operating, and Instructions. Section 1, Service upon the receive of the equipment and unloading the equipment shipment by the tractor when welded the machine is received by a tractor. Remove all the securing devices with the forklift with other suitable lifting device. Remove it from the truck. Warning, when you use the lifting device to move the welding machine, make sure it has the lifting capacity no less than 1,000 pounds. Do not allow the welding machine to swing in its way while suspended. Failure to observe the warning may result in the damage of the equipment and serious injury to personnel. B. By shipment by rail. When welding machine is received with the rail, remove all the securing devices and the forklift. Other suitable lifting devices, and remove it from the freight car. Unpacking the equipment. Unpacking the welding machine has a heavy paper cardboard around it, protected from the damage. The package is in a wooden box. Remove all the metal bandings with a suitable tool. Remove the wooden box with a claw hammer, the pry bar, nail puller, other suitable tools. Note: be careful not to damage the welding machine while removing the wooden box. Deprivation. Preservation, preparing the welding machine for the inspection operation outlined with the DA Form 2258 attached for the near control panel. 2-3, inspection and servicing of the equipment, checking the packing of the list for the missing part for the install, inspect the damaged part, check with the welding machine, turns to the scratches of the damaged housing, inspect the damaged and broken control switches, inspect for loose or missing hardware, lifting eyes or panel fittings. Perform the daily preventive maintenance services in paragraph 3.5. 2.4. Installation and setup of the instruction. Ground electrical cable connections referred to here. 2.1b with the connect for the work cable to the ground terminal stud with the electro terminal studs located on the front of the welder. Recommended with the welded leads to become keep it as short as possible to prevent high frequency dissipation, erection, operation, external power ground connection. Connect the external power source shown in figure 2F for the use of the wire side, with the fuse side with the recommended below the wire. When the welding machine is must be grounded prior to the operation of the ground can be ordered in order to provide the underground metallic water piping system to drive metal rod over the buried metal pipe. The ground rod must have the minimum diameter 5/8 of an inch of solid, 3/4 inch pipe. The square 3/4 inch pipe must be driven to the maximum of 8 feet. The ground plate must have the minimum area of 9 square feet with its bare with the minimum depth of 4 feet. With the ground lead must number 6 AW or American wire gauge. Copper wire larger be bolted clamped and rod plated with the piping system. Refer to figure 521AB. Connect with the external power source with the ground wire. Recommended line voltage wire for you to the side of the line voltage wiring AWG line voltage and the amps. 280 volt, number 2, 230 volt, 8, number 1, 460 volt, 6, and 200 line voltage for the fuse of the amps. 258 volts, 175, 230, 150, 460 volt, 80 volt. Warning: before operating the unit, the ground terminal lug with the properly connected one by the methods referenced in paragraph 2.4b with the ground machine can cover the depth of electrocution. Personal coming in contact with it, and the welding machine is to be connected with the one-phase 3-phase line. Do not connect the third wire with the 3-phase line with the studio side with the line labeled ground, as it may result with a hot welding machine. Picture A shows the external power ground connections, the connecting of the ground wire to the terminal, the connection external power source for the terminal studs, and open access door removing screws. The next figure shows the gas water loading connection. Remove the nut tube with the connect the work nut electrode cable to replace the nut. Connect the torch gas connection for the fittings. Connect the wire inlet fitting and then connect the torch water fitting connection with the fitting. Connect the gas inlet fitting. Nut 2 work terminal and electrode terminal. Water connection. Refer to figure 2.1b with the connect with a suitable pipe with the fitting of the welding machine. Portable water coolant system is used, but the connection should be made directly with the electrode hold the water connection by bypassing the welding machine water valve. Gas connection. Refer to figure 2.1b with the connect the suitable pipe with the fitting of the welding machine. Note: when installing the welding machine, allow at least 18 inches of clearance on all sides for proper ventilation. Radio interference. The following information is necessary to properly installation of high-frequency welding equipment described in the manual of the manufacturer of the equipment with the cover to herein with the conductor to prove that the field of test and certified with the radiation responsible for the expected within the legal limits of the correct installation procedures outlined in our file. The importance of the correct installation cannot be overemphasized as it can be cases, histories, and inference for this video. The high-frequency stabilized arc of the welding machine have shown with the invariability that all inadequate installation was at a fault. In high-frequency stabilized arc welding machine, insulation interfering with the radiation can escape at the floor distance ways outlined below. The direct radiation from the welding machine. This radiation escapeth directly with the welding machine cup with the very pronounced with the access door with the left open with the unfastened if the welding machine case is not properly grounded and opened with the metal welding machine case will allow some of the radiation to escape. High frequency unit with a certain equipment with adequate shield with the prevent the direct radiation from the consequent with the proper grounding is carried out. B. The direct feedback with a power line with a high frequency energy may be get with the power with it may be directed with the coupling inside with the equipment. The high frequency unit with the power line with the circuiting the radiation attempt with the proper shield within the filtering and the direct coupling with the remain with the certified equipment. C. Direct radiation welding leads. The direct radiation from the welding leads, although very pronounced, is decreased rapidly with the distance of welding leads. Maybe keeping the welding as short as possible. The operative can do a great deal with a minimizing the interference from the sort of the intensity frequency radiation altered with over the limited with the changing the location relative to the position of the welding leads and work if possible loops and suspend with the section should be avoided. D. Pick up and re-radiation with the power line. Even though the welding line's radiation fall off rapidly with the distance, the fielding strength of the immediately vicinity of the welding area would be extremely high with the uninsured wiring and ungrounded metallic object with strong enough to feel with the pickup of the direct radiation conduct with the energy of some distance produced with strong and interfering field with another, usually with the most troublesome some of the interference with the careful adherence with the proper installation procedure for the outline with the booklet with the minimum of the type of the interference. 3. If the specific instruction to make with the proper primary connection with the equipment that outlined with the manual furnished with the equipment that should be filed with the care with the fully with the solid metallic conductivity and with the conductivity of the equivalent electrical shield above that should be used with the electrode with the primary power surface that leads solid metallic shield should be included with the primary power surface the equipment from the point of the 50 with the equipment with unbroken and run with the shield should be grounded at the farthest point with the equipment that should be made with a good electrical connection with the casing with the equipment the ground should be in accordance with the specification in paragraph 2.4a and then B and shown figure 2.2 with the care should be taken in paint corrosion with the conjunction with the conduity with the conduity to interfere with the good of electrical contact. There should be no gap at the shield running with simply mean within 50 feet of the equipment, no portion of the power line serving the equipment which shall be unshielded whether there's any but the question with electrical deficiency with the joints between the individual conduity connections, outlet boxes and equipment case of the boundaries should be carried out with a soldering copper strap of the wire across the joint shown figure 2.2b. The location of the equipment should be chosen from the respective near the suitable ground connection. The equipment case firmly with the bound with the power of the conduity should be grounded with the work terminal equipment with the copper cable braid with the braid with the current carrying equal to greater with the power surface of the wire for the working output terminal with the equipment that should be the ground with the grid electrical ground short length of the welding same capacity with the working lead figure 2.2c with the equipment operating the all access over the door with the clove with the properly fastened spark getting the gap setting with the maintain with the minimum with separation consistent with the factory welding results figure 3.1.6. In order to minimize the direct weld lead radiation, welding leads electrical lead with the work lead must keep it as possible. The certification test of the machine would have been made with at least 25 feet long with considerable and preventable the radiation minimization can held. And had be shorting the lead that must be as possible to keeping the electrical lead groundwork with the lead as possible with the floor surface to remove the radiation. And the most serious sort of the interfering with the re-radiation of the wire located near the welding area in ground with the electrical conductor with the strong directly radiated with the field with the produce of the welding lead serve with the picking of the device may conduct with the interfere with the sum of the distance re-radiate with the strong line of the location for the purpose of simplification the standardization space around all the welding zone with the distance of the 550 feet with the direction with the referred to the high frequent field intensity zone figure 2.2e with the minimize the radiation with the type of all the wiring with a high field intensity zone should be in the rigid metallic conduity with less covered cable with the copper braid with the, or material or equivalent shield efficiency with the ordinary flexible helical wrapped metallic conductivity with the commonly referred to as the BX known satisfactory shielding but not used with the shields of all the wiring should be grounded at intervals of 50 feet and with good electrical bonding between the sections maintained with the shielding and the equipment applied with the wiring and including telephone intercommunication signal with control and the incidental service. Extreme precaution should be taken to make sure that the location of the zone is shown within, so that no one of the conditions to verify are avoided and shield with the wire of the premises of the stove of the radial dimension of high frequency intensity zone. The 50-foot high-frequency intensity zone is a minimum test imposed for the installation certification test manufactured based on the limit to keeping the unshielded from farther than 50 feet of the welding zone material, aided in minimizing interference with the impossible to relocate the unshielded wire section of the high-frequency intensity zone that should be placed in the conduity, each of the conduity section grounded. 7. Frequency references. It's made with a good ground with the previous section, although there is considerable leeway with the interpretation of the term of the proposed coverage with the manual. The following specifications apply with the ground connection should be made with a driven rod at least 8 feet long with the driving into most soil. A cool water pipe can be used with a plate for the ground and rod provided with the insert for the ground within 10 feet of the equipment of the ground and the lead with the connection point for the ground and the ground rod with the pipe should be as short as possible. Same for the ground lead itself can become effective with the radiating antenna. The effectiveness of the ground reducing interference depends upon the ground conductivity at a certain location make for the necessary to improve the ground conductivity with the treating of the soil around the ground rod in the salt solution. Hey, if the frequency thought with the operation of high-frequency stabilized arc welding equipment with the metallic buildings complete with eliminating the troublesome of the radiation, however, there is the false assumption that metallic building structure the properly grounded may serve to reduce the directive radiation in the welding zone will have no effect conducting interference with re-radiation result with the installation requirement for the mentioned above that must be complied with if the metallic building is not properly grounded with the bonding with the several grilled electrical grounds placed and around peripheral of the building will give it the reasonable assurance that the building itself is not contributing to the radiation. F. The checklist of the high-frequency stabilized arc welding and equipment installation. Has the equipment been located with the ground lead to be short or the power leads serving with the unit with the conductivity? If there good electrical contact power with the conduity, in the case of the conduity couplings make it with a good electrical contact, if it's in doubt, use the bonding, and if there's a good electrical contact between the conduities and switch and surface box, and if the rigid metallic conductivity is not even the shielding, even the equivalent shield efficiency, copper sleeve in the lead, covered cable, etc., satisfactory spiral wound flexible metallic conduity with not suitable. Is it conduity system grounded at a point of at least 50 feet of the equipment, and is the conduity run complete without the any of the gap of the high frequency intensity zone? Is the equipment connected with the work terminal secondary of the wire with the connection with the sufficient side of the work terminal connected with the good electrical ground? If the cable with the copper braid of the U with the connection equal with the greater current with the capacity for the welding lead? If the cable is short as possible, is the spark gaps of 8 thousandths of an inch or less? Are surfaces in the access door closed with the bolted or welding leads less than 50 feet, 25 feet long? Are they short as short as possible? Or the welding leads of the floor placed in the suitable board? Are the welding leads approximately 3/4 inch to 1 inch apart? Have they visualized with a high frequency intensity zone with a spear with a 50-foot radius center of the welding zone? Have the unshielded power light with the wires originally with a high frequency intensity zone that have been placed with the ground shield with being relocated outside of the zone? Have all large metallic objects with any long guy supporting wire high frequency zone be grounded? Have you checked with no external power with the telephone line for the premises within the zone of the grounds driven to ground routes? If the cold water pipe with the U for the ground, if the so does the inch for the ground 10 feet or less within the connection, after the connection with the ground clean with tight, if the operated with the metal building properly combined with the answer of the above the questions of fermentation with equipment is responsible expected to meet the radiation limits of the Federal Communication Commission. 2.5 Equipment conversion. Generally, the welding machine can be operated with a 208, 230, 208, 230, and 460 volt with the correct position of the voltage change bars. Voltage change bar position removed with a screw with the voltage with the chain with the bar access panel open with the door 2 to refer to figure 2C, 22C with a plate with the voltage chain bar to the desired position. Warning, do not reposition the voltage chain bars with the power source connected with the machine. To do so causes a serious electrical shock and possible death. Alright, A, the power source installation should be the ground at least 50 feet solid metal conduity with the good electrical joints both with the box and conduity with the good electrical contact clear from the metal to metal. Line fused and switched back with a high frequency stabilized welding machine. Also, B, show the recommended method of electrical bonding, the solder, the cleaning and bolt with the copper strip with the solder with the demounting of the bonding strap with the continuity joints. Soldering copper with the wire solder with the setting with the copper wire with the continuity joints. C, ground connection with the welding machine cable firmly bound with the power conduity, sours of power with the case for the ground work terminal, the work terminal is connected, ground driven rod with the cold water pipe with the heavily braided with the strip of the cable. T, general rule with the welding leads, keep the lead with as short as possible, never in excess of 25 feet. Welding machine or oscillator, keep the lead with the ground with the boards with 3/4 inch to 1 inch apart, electro holder. And work. E, general requirements to minimize the radiation. Pick up the shielded wire with the ground at 50-foot intervals. Welding machine, 50-foot electrical holder, and work. The figure 2F shows the primary line voltage connection, the line disconnection switch, the ground connection, welding machine control transformer link connection, line voltage connections, voltage change bars connection show the 208 volt AC connections, 230 volt AC connections, and the 460 volt AC connections. Section 2, movement at a new work site. The dismantling of the movement, the disconnecting of the cable to leave connection with external power over the ground connection, the hose, the pipe with the gap, with the water connection, paragraph 2-4, with the welding machine move, with the bill, with the skating with the move, with the forklift, the welding machine is to be moved, other than a short distance to cover the water with the gas connection fitting load with the truck with the other suitable scare with a suitable lifting device. Warning, when you use the lifting device have the welding machine, make sure that the safe lifting capacity of the 1,000 pounds. Do not allow the welding machine to swing severely. When being lifted, the failure to observe the warning may cover the damage to the equipment, serious injury, and personnel reinstallation after the move of the paragraph 2-4 with the reinstallation instruction on the move of the new work site. Section 3, control instruments. 2.8, general. The section describes they locate and illustrate the furniture of the operating crew with the organizational maintenance performance and personnel sufficient information of the various controls instruments for the proper operation welding machine. 2.9, control instruments for the further figure 2.3 with the purpose of use of the normal operation control instruments. Alright, control panel from the top. Control rheostat, control welding, amperage normal position, determine the type of the work to be done. The start adjustment, control normal position, determine the method of welding. Power switch to the normal position. On panel, manual automatic switch with the welding, the normal position determined by the method of welding. High frequency switch, normal position, determine the method of welding. Range selector, normal position, determined by the work to be done. Polarity control, normal the position to be determined the work to be done. Remote contractor switch with the remote control of the position to determine the method of welding. Remote amperage for the remote control of the normal position to determine the welding method. Also, lower panel. The tungsten air gas switch position for the gas and tungsten air with the low position stick electrode. The high intensity with the high intensity control with the high frequency. Okay, all right. Figure 2.3b, lower panel front access door opening. Take switch up position for gas, tungsten arc, lower position stick electrode. High intensity controlled high frequency welding, normal position determined the work to be done. Welding timing with the spot welding, normal setting determined to be the work done. Starting circuit switch, normal position determined to be work done. Post flow timer controls flow gas water, normal setting determined the work to be done. All right, Section 4, operation of equipment. 210, general. The instruction for this section. Instruction of this section, published information guide for the person responsible for the operating of the welding machine. The operator must know how to perform every operation with which the welding machine is capable. The section gives the instruction of the starting of the top of the welding machine, various settings for the controls enabled of the welding machine to perform different type of welding, which is designed serious and nearly every job to present the different problem the operator may have the very given procedure for an individual job. Caution: when you use the machine, high frequency welding, high frequency emissions may result with the communication interference if the machine is not properly grounded. Starting. Preparation for starting. Performing the daily preventive maintenance check, surfaces, clean any item, clean area of the item to be welded, ensure the good connection, connect with the ground clamp to the load work cable to the work table and the item to be welded. B. Starting. Refer to figure 2.4 of statings. Refer to figure 2.4 for starting instruction. 12. Stopping. Refer to figure 2.5 of the stopping instruction. Remove the ground clamp from the item being welded. 2.13 welding machine operation. Starting the welding machine, paragraph 2.11. Refer to figure 2, table 2.1. Select the proper electrode for the inert gas welding. Caution: do not use the current range of the switch to the ACT selector. Polarity switch under the load. Arcing caused by opening the switch carrying high current will severely burn the contact surfaces of the switch. Thus, burning the contact surface will decrease the maximum current capacity of the switch. Possible cause of the switch to become inoperative. Table 2.1, electrode size amplified current. 4/10 of the 400ths of the tungsten electrode size, 400 to 60 amp, 332, 500 to 100, 50 to 100 amps. 1/16, 100 to 160 amps, 1/8 of an inch, 150 to 210 amps, 532 to 200 to 275 amps, 3/16 of an inch, 250 to 350 amps, 1/4 inch, 325 to 475 amps. For the figure 2, technical manual 9237 for the metallic arc welding theory application. Step 1, make sure, figure 2.4 is starting the welding machine. Step 1, make sure the external power source is connected with the welding machine. Make sure the gas, water, and air connected with the welding machine is gas, tungsten, and arc welding is to be done. Step 3, depress the start button on the power switch to start the welding machine. Alright, figure 2.5, stopping the welding machine. Step 1, play for the high frequency switch in the off position. Turn the control rheostat control clockwise until it stops. Depress the stop button on the power switch to stop the welding machine. So you use a sample piece with metal, like the metal to be welded. Adjust the welding amperage to prove the correct and necessary for the welding to be done. Warning: do not come into contact with the electrode while the welding machine is operating with a high voltage generator. But the machine can cause the death of electrocution. The connection to the terminal block located with the relay panel on the left side of the machine, figure 4 of 10, but must be properly positioned with the type of the welding to be done. With the reposition connection shown at the panel A, the U for the automatic welding, panel B for the U for the manual welding, and the panel S for the U for the spot welding. Proper connection for each of the panels shown figure 2-6 for the 1A. Operation for the welding machine, each of the panels is shown. The 1 panel with the type of the operation for the automatic welding contactor switch must be in the remote position A. Normally obtained with maintained contact must be connected with the contactor control receptacle with the indicator for the contactor with the welding machine energized with the starting with the gas and water flow with the flowing up the open circuit. The servo voltage when no arc is established, high frequency in the position present with the switch is the enter for the start and continuous position. Start and adjustment control switch is energized with the welding and is begun with a high frequency shut off with the switch and with the start button position only. The starting adjustment control will change with the main welding control. The welding can continue along with the remote control switch and maintain with the closed position. Stop welding control switch must be open. The drop of the contactor break for the arc of the post flow with the gas timer will start the time out. Note, if the arc is broken manually, gas and water will continue to flow with a full open circuit voltage and present with a high frequency in the present. If the switch with a continuous position, the start adjustment control circuit is energized, the maintain contact must be open with the de-energized the welding circuit. 2. B panel. This type of the operation manual welding contactor control switch must be in the remote position. Monetary contact switch must be connected with the contactor's controls. The receptacle with the switch engaged with the contactor with the welding machine energized with the starting and the gas water flow. Flow open circuit voltage when no arc is established for the high frequency of the present when the switch with either in the start with the continuous position and in the start adjustment with the start energized when the welding is begun. Remote contactor control switch can be relieved with the high frequency shut off the switch within which the start position and the start adjustment control switch. Start adjustment control will change with the main welding control to stop the welding break of the arc withholding. Withdrawing the electrode from the work of the contactor will open when the gas and water will start at the time and automatically. The S panel. Type of the operation with the spot welding used for the S panel with the control necessary for the position automatic manual switch required for the automatic manual switch to in the manual position. The control operation is possible with the switch of the automatic position to S. Control operation is possible when using S to control the gas tungsten arc spot welding. It will be necessary to play with the contactor control switch in the remote position. The welder timer located behind the front of the access door provided with the automatic control with welding current. Refer to figure 2-6 for the operating of the welding machine. Warning: before operating with the welding machine, see with the ground terminal lug with the connected through the input cable. The separate conductor of the power system with ground and ungrounded welding machine can cause death. Electrocution personnel come into contact with it. Note: the welding machine is equipped with a remote receptacle that can be operated with the remote control. You for the remote control with the contactor and amperage switches must be in the remote position. When the remote amperage control is used with the maximum current available, it will be limited by a segment of the panel of the rheostat. If full range of the necessary of the panel, the rheostat control must be set wide opening. Section 5, operating under unusual conditions. 214, operation of the extreme cold below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Frequent inspection of the frozen water pipe at the line 3 is evident with the disconnect of the water system with the welding machine used with the regular arc welding. 215, operating with extreme heat. Make sure the welding machine has adequate ventilation. 216, open with the dusty, sandy areas. Keep the dust and sand clean from the welding machine as possible. Keep the welding machine covered but not in use. 217, operation under rainy or humid conditions. Provide the much protection possible to keep the rain from the welding machine. Keep the welding machine covered with not use. If the water comes in contact with a high frequency panel, with the remove of the panel to dry thoroughly before installing it into the welding machine. Warning: be careful when the unit and surrounding area is damp or wet. Continue coming in contact with wet, damp unit can cause serious electrical shock or death. 218, open operation salt water. Keep the welding machine protected as possible. Do not block ventilation. Inspect all connection terminals, fittings for the corrosion. Keep the welding machine covered with not in use. Alright, shows panel A, panel B, and S panel. Note the set of the welder type welding type automatically controlled with the welding connector jump cable relay panel A. Manual controlled welding connecting jumper to panel relay panel A. For the spot welding connected to the jumpers and for the relay panel S. Note: remove the right side panel with the welding machine for access for the panel connections. A panel connection, shield metal arc welding. Step 1, place the contactor control switch in the stand position. Step 2, if the start is desired, place the start in control and start and then into the in position. Step 3, turn the adjusting control into the maximum C column clockwise clockwise position except for the light of the gauge metal. Step 4, determine the welding range by the side of the work to be done. Select the proper electrode side with adjusting the range of the control to the proper position. Step 5, place the polarity switch in the suit of the welding application. Step 6, place the remote amperage control switch in the standard position if the remote control is used with the plug with the remote amperage of the receptacle and play with the switch in remote position. Step 7, adjust the control of the rheostat with the proper welding current. Step 8, do press the proper switch when on the button for commencing the welding and adjusting the range switch from the control rheostat if necessary. Alright, so figure 2.6 below the welding machine operation sheet 1 of 2. Show the remote amperage receptacle with the remote amperage switch, the control contactor control receptacle contactor control switch, the control rheostat starting adjustment rheostat, power switch, polarity switch, manual automatic switch, high frequency switch, and range switch. Step C's of the lower panel TI tungsten Inert gas switch and tungsten intensity control welder timer post flow timer start control switch. Gas tungsten arc welding. Step 1, turn on the source of the gas and water. Step 2, play for the contactor switch in the remote position. Connect the suitable contactor with the control of the contactor control receptacle. Step 3, play for the remote amperage switch from the same position from the remote control. If you use and play for the remote, the amperage receptacle place it in the remote position. Step 4, determine the range of the side of the work to be done with the range of the position suit with the welding current. Step 5, play for the polarity switch on the position to suit the welding application. Step 6, adjust the control rheostat with the proper welding current. Step 7, start with the control desired with the start of the control switch in the position set with the control rheostat the same position with the control rheostat. Step 8, play for the high frequency switch in the start position for the DC welding or in the continuous position for the AC welding. Step 9, play for the tungsten Inert gas switch from the tungsten Inert gas upper position and adjust the post flow time over the 10-second for each of the 100 amperes of the welding current. Step 11, set the intensity control for the 260 or RE adjusting if necessary. Step 12, depress the power on the switch on button, commence the welding, and be adjusting the controls as necessary until the proper welding operation is obtained. Alright, spot welding. Step 1, connect the spot with the spot gun to the gas welding electrode terminal. Turn on the gas with the water source. Step 2, for the play for the contactor control switch in the remote continuous position. Connect with the contactor control to the contactor receptacle. Step 3, play for the remote amperage control in standing position remote control. If you, for the plug in the remote amperage receptacle, play for the switch in the remote position. Step 4, determine the welding range for the side of the work to be done with the range switch. Step 5, play for the polarity switch in the straight polarity position. Step 6, adjust the control rheostat to the proper welding current. Step 7, if the start is controlled and desired, place the start control switch in the position set with the start control rheostat in the upper half of its range. Step 8, play the high frequency switch in the continuous start position depending on the application. Step 9, play for the automatic manual switch automatic position set the welding timer desired with welding time. Step 10, play for the tungsten Inert gas switch in the tungsten Inert upper position. Step 11, set the intensity control to 60 REs, adjusting the necessary. Step 12, do press the power switch on the button, commence the welding, be adjusting controls as necessary until the proper welding operation is obtained. Chapter 3, Operating Organizational Maintenance Instructions.